time we give back. Sow a seed and show someone where love's at. Even if you don't give a dime, give your heart and share your time. Help somebody else in life. Give back. Let's give back.
Welcome to another segment of Ignite, Empower, Transform, where we showcase some of our superheroes, people dedicated to the upliftment of our communities and more especially our children. In this episode, we have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Lucena. Mr. Lucena, how you doing this evening? Good to have you on the show. So we want to start right out with you telling us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, so I'm Nelson Lucena. I was a music teacher for many years, but I went to the public schools growing up, and it was all public schools until I went to college, which was the School of Visual Arts. But in School of Visual Arts, I was doing filmmaking, and it kind of gave me an opportunity to open my eye to what was going on with my community.
Okay.
I grew up in the projects, and I realized that there was problems coming from all directions.
You grew up in the projects in the Bronx?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And so by 1981, we had Reagan as our president, and he was threatening to take away our public housing and sell it to private interests.
Understand.
So I made a film basically to show, okay, let's find out what's going on with the housing, public housing at that time.
Okay. What was the name of your film?
It was called Blind Rage.
Blind Rage.
And it was my thesis. I needed to do a thesis to graduate, so
Okay.
I did this film where basically I just show what is going on on the grounds of
Gotcha.
Soundview, and you could see that it wasn't being kept by maintenance. It was being neglected also by the tenants themselves, who were littering all over the place. The lawns were just filled with garbage that you know,
Okay.
there was no other way it could have gotten there but by the tenants. But anyway, I just wanted to really make an objective eye looking into the projects and interview the tenants as well as the resident association president, as well as go to Washington D.C. because we had a rally. It was the Poor People's Movement back then,
Gotcha.
and we wanted to save our houses
Gotcha.
and our housing. And so from that point on, I knew that there was a problem that we need to get active on. And so I did become a teacher after that. And as a teacher, I was teaching music. And through music, I improved academics as well as building character that was, for the most part, being neglected, because you know that the arts are always
So let me ask you. So the theme of the program is Ignite, Empower, and Transform.
Right.
So I'm listening to what you're saying. It sounds like there's a lot of that in there.
Right.
So briefly tell me, how'd you take your experience living in the Bronx and translate it to an ignition to your community?
Well, basically, I really started the Ignite, Power, and Transform mostly when Mr. Gavan, who was the guidance counselor at our school, said, look, there's something going on in our communities. It's getting worse and worse every year. There's gunfire, there's rampant gunfire that kills innocent people. There was a 4-year-old, his name was Lloyd Morgan, who was shot.
It's random gunfire.
Yeah, and he was killed right next to the school where I work, which was 198 on Tinton Avenue and 168th Street. So we decided, okay, we need to find a way to get positive role models, especially men.
Okay, so you say you gentlemen started a program, and I'm familiar with the program. There's a National Give Back for Kids campaign, and there's also the Alpha Eagles Boys Club. So what part do you play in those organizations?
Okay. As a matter of fact, there's a program with the Scouts. We've attached ourselves to the Scouts, so I became a Scout leader.
And what's the name of this Scout troop?
This is the Troop 777. It's Cub Scouts.
Okay.
But we also have Boy Scouts, and we also have Girl Scouts.
So you're empowering these young men.
Yes.
To
that I am.
well, if you're spending time with them when no one else will, or there's limited, then you absolutely are, and we commend you for that. What are the ages of these young men, and where do you find them? Where do they come from?
Well, a lot of them come from the very school Right now, well, the campus is 198, but we have schools that are 463 and also 212 that are in the building. So they can either be students in either one of those schools, and or they can be students that graduated from the school, or just brothers or siblings of those that are in the school, but the parents decided that this is a good program. And
So it's a community outreach as well.
So basically we're reaching out to the community. It doesn't,
Very good.
It's not limited to who's a student in the school. Or
Very good.
building.
I see. So how is the parent involvement? Are the parents pretty involved in it?
That's like the most exciting piece, especially as of late, because when we created the spring basketball league, we got the fathers really into it. And
Okay.
this is another degree of empowerment that's very important. Not only do we empower the students, but we began to empower those parents.
Okay.
So now they do have a definition. They're definitely community leaders now because they become coaches.
Right.
Now it's not Mr. Gold, the father of so-and-so that's on the block, but now it's Mr. Gold, the coach. He's Coach Gold.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
So you're actually handling this twofold then within the Alpha Eagles Boys Club. It's actually empowering the children to
Right.
understand that they can do more with themselves and within their communities, and at the same time, as you just stated, you're giving these dads who were written off at some point,
Right.
some of them,
Right.
and you're giving them the ability to build their character and their esteem back up and become
Absolutely.
something that helps.
Right, and they become now certain like pillars of the community.
Fantastic.
And when the pillars are there, there's a new level
Right.
to the community.
Right.
And that's basically where we get to the next phase, which is the transformation. We're transforming that community. We're transforming what it used to be, that neighborhood, into something new. It's got more love in it. It's got more positive energy. It's got more positive role models.
Right.
It's it's lifting. And,
Gotcha.
and that's a beautiful thing.
So how often are you with these children? How often is the program run?
Well, regularly on Saturdays we'll do it. It may not be every single Saturday, but we do different things too. It's not always the same program.
Gotcha.
On a Saturday, there could be times when we go in and there's speakers that are invited. We could have town hall meetings. Sometimes we also have activities. Of course, the basketball league.
Okay.
Now, and we've also incorporated over the years trips which were wonderful because they trips to the Botanical Gardens train show. We've had trips to Yankee Stadium to watch a game or two.
Okay.
We've had trips to college campuses and for basketball games that
Okay.
on the college level as well, and speakers from the college as well. Jim.
So the reason I asked this question is because we know the efforts take finances,
Mhm.
and we know no one's necessarily making money for this, but it has to be taken care of some kind of way because you're giving the community something
Right.
they need. And it's good that you can identify politicians and community leaders
Mhm.
that have decided this program, the Alpha Eagles Boys Club, or even if it's the National Give Back for Kids
Mhm.
campaign, people are volunteering time. Because as we know, the campaign
Mhm.
does not ask people for money. It asks you
Right.
for time and energy
Yeah.
to give back to these kids.
So that's really the primary source of what makes a difference in what we're doing. It really is.
Sounds good. So what kind of message do you want to deliver to people who are just considering? They're kind of standing outside and say, I want to do something, I just don't know how.
Well, they have to understand, first of all, it's our responsibility. We can't look at the generation that's coming to take our place eventually, take all of the responsibility. We have to let them know this is the direction that you should go, and we lead by example.
All right, lay some groundwork.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Lay the groundwork, send out that positive energy, and make some time, because if you don't make any time, you can't complain in the end. You can't say that this shouldn't have happened and it's going all in the wrong direction and I don't know why.
Right.
You should know why. It's
Right.
because we need more involvement.
Gotcha. So, our climate, in our communities, things, and we touched on it right at the beginning about, little Lloyd and the unfortunate incident that happened with him. We talk about, giving our children something to look forward to in terms of programs like this. How are the children responding? That's probably the most important part. We know we're doing our part to be present, but how are they responding?
Well, they are excited for the most part. They show up for every event that they can. Sometimes there are things that may come up on a Saturday that keep them from coming in, whether it be illness or something else that's happening at home. But once they're there, they are into it. They are definitely excited, especially about the basketball, but now they're also getting excited about the scouts.
Right.
We've taken them to the Camp Alpine, and that was a new experience for most of them.
Okay.
And this is something that they look forward to being able to wear a uniform,
Gotcha.
or being on that basketball team and just knowing that they're in a team, and the excitement during the games is the greatest thing, because they were so well balanced with regard to the 4 teams that we set up, so that when we start the tournament, the games have been so tight that we have to go into overtime just about every time.
Good.
Just about every time. And they are playing with such skills. And so you can see that they have become empowered. You can see that they've transformed too, because they're learning how to be team members. They're learning how to be community members. Automatically,
Gotcha.
It comes hand in hand. When you can work as a team, then you can definitely build toward being a cooperative and significant member of a community.
Fantastic. It sounds good. It's always good to hear these kind of stories, because the communities are always viewed as such rough and tumble, and most of those children are looked past. One of the things that I want you to speak about is some of the main individuals that have started these programs, and what they're doing to keep them going.
Well, I mentioned Jose Gavan. He's definitely at the center. He's like the one really guiding the rest of us. I'm a board member myself. His wife, Rachel Cheeks Gavan, as well as even little Rebecca, the daughter, is involved.
So it's a family affair.
Yeah, and there's also a fraternity that has been involved. The Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity that Mr. Gavan has been able to use the members of to come in and serve as mentoring or mentors rather to the boys for years, since the beginning of this program, which was back in like 2013 or so. And so these members have come in and helped by setting new examples of what men can grow up to be.
And as I understand, a lot of the men that have volunteered to be mentors or be a support system to the boys and to the program, as I understand, a lot of them grew up in these same areas.
Exactly.
Which shows, you can have that rose growing from the concrete.
Exactly.
Now, do these young boys that are part of the program, do they understand this? Are they being taught this?
We drive it into them every opportunity we can get.
Okay.
We make sure we let them know, look, I come from the same background. We talked about even Colin Powell, as big a name as he is, and an important figure he is to our country, as well as the fraternity. And we said, look, he grew up in the Bronx too, in this very same area.
Right.
So if he can do it,
right,
everybody else can do it. And so we have just numerous examples, and we keep driving that in. We say, look, you got to know, this is not the end. This doesn't just lead to one road.
Right.
One road, I'm sorry. You got to know that you create a goal, and then when you've got that goal in your sight, it creates a path. And whenever is something that entices you to perhaps go off that path, then wait a minute, it's not consistent with my goal. I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to stay on the path, the feedback.
And we should all feel that way.
All right.
Nelson, it was a pleasure talking with you today.
Welcome back to another segment of Ignite
Empower, Transform, where this time we have a guest by the name of Rachel Gavan. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Larry.
Thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Rachel, I'd like to start out with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Larry, I wear a number of hats. I'm the board chair for the National Give Back for Kids campaign. That's where my passion is. But I'm also an executive in the global diversity and inclusion space for a large company. And with that, I also teach diversity and inclusion at Manhattanville College and New York University. And then I also get involved in my community, and I'm a community activist, and I dabble a little bit in politics as well.
Okay, so you started it out, a whole lot of hats.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, we love people like you that get involved. Rachel, tell us about the inspiration to start National Give Back for Kids.
Larry, it's interesting. When I think back, probably over 5 years ago, there were a few of us, including Hosea Gavan and a couple of other members of our board, we're sitting around and we're talking about why is it people don't get involved in their communities? And we realized people just didn't know where to go. They wanted to give back, they had the desire to do so, but they didn't know, where they could actually give their talents and services to help their respective communities. So we went on a website, and I won't name what the website was, but it was a volunteer website, and we put in our zip code, and we just thought that tons of opportunities would come up within the Bronx where we lived. That wasn't the case. The first community opportunity or volunteer opportunity that popped up was the Jewish Center in New York City, and we're sitting in the Bronx, and I know that there is definitely an organization close to our home. Kips Bay Boys Club is right there within 5 minutes. Okay. And that told us that there was an opportunity for us to really provide, the uniqueness of getting our community, one, inspired to get involved. We wanted to be that catalyst for change, but also we wanted to be able to provide the opportunities for people to know where is it that they can go and actually give back. So we really want to be that organization that really gets people fired up about even volunteering. Right. I mean, we don't hear people talking about giving back, and that's what we felt that our role could be in terms of taking a more active leadership role to be that catalyst for change, to people to want to give back and volunteer within their respective communities.
Okay. So one of the things you said is you want to get people fired up to give back to their communities and volunteer. What impact has National Give Back for Kids made thus far?
We've made a huge impact nationally and locally, and let me let you know, and you've been working with us as well.
I have.
We are working on limited resources. However, we have a number of people that are very passionate about the organization and our vision in terms of promoting and inspiring people to give back. So I would say on a national level, one of the things that we had done is that we put together national tours. To me, they were like city tours going around to places like San Francisco, Martha's Vineyard, Detroit, Chicago, some of the inner cities. We went to about 10 cities across the country. And we looked for those people that what I would call superheroes in each one of those communities that are really engaged and involved in helping their respective communities in terms of promoting volunteerism and giving back. And that was probably one of our learning, is that we have these people in places around the country. And what they needed was really is some sort of platform or avenue to be able to say, they're there, they want to be an inspiration and leader for others to be able to do the same thing and give back. So our national platform and going into these different cities, it also let us know that we can replicate that model, not only in one city, we could take it to the next and the next, because we have superheroes in every single city. We just need to find them, give them a voice and a platform, and then be able to connect them with people who actually want to volunteer and help out their respective communities as well.
Okay, so going into these various cities around the nation, has anything evolved from that yet? Have there been any partnerships generated from that?
I could tell you right here in the Bronx, one of the biggest opportunities that we did in terms of impacting our own respective community is that we put on an actual community symposium. And I would say that's where I was the most proudest, Larry, in terms of, I didn't know we had so many grassroots organizations here in the Bronx. And when I looked out into the auditorium and I saw a number of organizations that were doing what we felt was God's work, really giving back and helping their communities. They never knew there were so many others like them as well. So what we did was we were able to give them the platform to share their respective organization, but they shared with each other. So they were able to network and help support each other. And we know that right now, those that met with each other, they're sharing best practices. So I felt that was probably the big first step, but we still have more work to do in terms of promoting the concept. But at least we started here in the Bronx in terms of forming those key strategic partnerships with people where they can help and support each other. But we have a long way to go to take it to the next level.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a little earlier about resources and having a tough time gathering resources, and volunteerism is not something that people just jump to, as you alluded to. My question to you would be, what motivates you to stay involved and stay engaged in this whole process?
Well, Larry, one, I know he may not like this, but my husband, Hosea Gavan, I mean, if you listen to him, he is so passionate about this concept, and I know that he's right. Because for me, the motivation is when you see a young child like our daughter, Rebecca, being able to talk about the notion of giving back, and we're inspiring the young youth of today to not only, we're constantly giving them things. I know that when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot that was given to me. But this next generation, they're very fortunate. Not all, but there's a number of them that are. But the fact that they're able to see that they need to give back as well, although you have a lot, you need to be able to look back, give back, and help your fellow, friends or your community, I think is what motivates me in seeing that the young kids today are actually, they're given the opportunity to do so and get involved. And I feel that our organization is that catalyst to get the young people involved and not only always take, gimme, but they're looking for, well, what can I do? How can I help? And that's what we should be able to do, give them those opportunities to do that. So that's what motivates me.
Okay, good. You may have kind of answered this in the mix of some of your answers to the previous questions, but if you could just go specifically and tell me, why is it so important that you engage in your community? Because you mentioned the Bronx is where you started, and being a former Bronx resident myself, I get it. And I know the need, but what keeps you engaged?
Great question, Larry. And I'm from the Bronx as well, born and raised. And when I think back, I went to Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club. And my parents worked. I didn't see them. They didn't come home until 6 o'clock. I came home from school on the bus with my sister. We took 3 buses to school and back. Today we wouldn't do that with our kids, right? We wouldn't leave them alone on a bus.
Different
but right. So where I spent my afternoons and all day Saturday was at Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club. And when I think about the 2 coaches that were there, I was a swimmer, so I would swim there. That's all I did. So for me, it's just that whole notion of having 2 coaches that spent their time. They didn't have to do that. I'm sure they had their own families, spend time with us on a team. That really said something to me, that someone took the time out to do it for me, then I should be able to turn around and give back as well. I truly believe that if I did not have that opportunity of somewhere to go, who knows what would have happened, but they were always there. My team was always there, and I lived for going to Kips Bay and swimming with my teammates. My house was the last stop. Everybody would stop by, pick me up, and we would go there. And we did that every day after school and all day Saturday. And that gave us a purpose. So when I think back, that's what was really, seeing that 2 people took the time out for me, and I'm sure there were countless others. And when I think about coaches across the country, teachers across the country, and other community leaders that are doing this on a daily basis, to me, it's, this is the least that I can do. And this is what this organization is about, is really inspiring others to do what they did for me, and for Hosea and for others to do the same thing back for others.
Tell us about the telethon.
Oh, yes.
You guys did a big telethon. I think I
telethon.
might have had something to do with it.
Oh, yes, you did. Well, it's interesting. I told you my background, and just to tell you the truth, we've never been involved in putting on a telethon ever before. And for us, if you remember the Jerry Lewis telethon, that was really about raising money. And we had the thought and the vision to say, what if we switch that up a bit And we trip people up by saying, we're not raising money. And people would say, you're not raising money. Why are you having this telethon? What we wanted to do was raise hours, time that we wanted people to give in terms of volunteering their time and efforts to give back. So we actually were able to calculate that, and we called it something called Vola dollars. And having a finance background, I was like, we have to patent that. You know, that's a great concept, because really it was about taking the hours that people were willing to pledge to volunteer their time to help another youth-based organization. We were going to translate that into dollars. So we did have a telethon. We had Brenda Blackman from Channel 9 News.
Yes.
She was the co-host. We also had Xavier Lewis, who he was on America's Got Talent. He was one of the finalists. He also sings our song. We actually have a song called the Give Back Song.
Right.
He was part of it as well. And then we invited a number of community leaders. Nate Tiny Archibald was on, a whole host of people that came on, and various youth-based organizations in the Bronx to really promote the whole notion of giving back. And we were able to raise a number of hours where people said, you know, I want to pledge and give back my time. Currently, we're in the midst of going back and really validating, you know, those hours and making sure we're going to hold people accountable.
Okay.
You know, you said you were going to give back 1,000 hours. You know, we got to go back and make sure people are doing that. But just think, that was a unique concept.
Yes.
I've never heard of that before. And people still say to me, were you raising money? I go, no, we were raising time, which is a totally different concept. And that's what we need more. People giving of their time and effort. Of course, we want the money, don't get me wrong. The organization could always use it. But I think the time is where, you know, the youth today, just having someone like yourself, a mentor, just go out and spend time with someone who's on a basketball team just to tell them more about leadership.
Right.
You know, being a good citizen here within the United States can go a long way.
Yes. So I want to reiterate two small things you said. One is that the volunteering your time and your hours are very important, but there is a need for support financially and other resources that are available that you can provide. I think I want to ask you just one more question to kind of wrap this segment up, and ask you, what are your hopes and dreams for the National Give Back for Kids?
Larry, that's a tough question for me, because I think about it all the time. And in our family, we talk about the National Give Back for Kids campaign on a daily basis. And my hope and dream is that we get as many people across the nation involved and inspired to want to give back. But to me, I think it can go global. If everyone had that mindset, to me, it's a cultural shift that we think about not only what we're getting, but a way on how we could always give back to help, you know, our fellow man. I think that would go a long way within our society. So that's my hope and dream for our organization, that everyone is inspired to want to give back.
Fantastic, Rachel. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit and chat with us, to tell everyone what the National Give Back for Kids is all about. I think everyone should take a look at it. You want to give the website name out?
www.givebackforkids.org. Come check us out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
for sitting
Larry.
with me. That'll do it for this segment of Ignite, Empower, Transform. Thank you. Until the next time.
It's time we give